Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Divine Feminine Healers podcast. This week is a solo cast, so you get just me, and I'm going to be sharing a bit of what I've been working on in January on my own self healing journey and talk about what's been really coming up for our community. And it's this idea of how to really nurture our life force energy. And what I've been seeing in my community is there's this challenge of an inability to find total nourishment in their body. So, whether that's chronic conditions resurfacing, not being able to heal them fully, and then how it shows up in your spiritual business is not making enough money and not getting enough clients. There's this lack that's been happening. And I kind of boiled this down of what constitutes as a low life force energy. So you may be feeling this. One, if you're burnt out, this is a tall tale sign that you have a low life force energy right now. So that can show up as chronic conditions. That could just show up as a feeling of exhaustion. That could show up as feeling like you don't have enough time for yourself and your self-care rituals. But the thing is, we can notice these low life force energy markers even before it gets to burnout. So what I noticed, the similarities between a lot of the women that I work with is this can show up as hormonal imbalances. So when we talk about holding this life force energy, this is very much related to the sacral chakra that resides in the womb. That's where we hold all of this juicy life that we can have, this nourishment, this zest for life, the passion, our emotions. And when we are having difficulty with our moon cycle and regulating our hormones, that is our womb speaking to us that there is an imbalance that is occurring here. That's how the body speaks to us. Other ways that womb needs to be healing is in sexual trauma. So, unhealed sexual trauma, it's going to store those scars, whether you can't see them or not, in the womb. And that is going to cause female reproductive imbalances, and of course, it's going to cause all the stagnant emotions that come with that as well. A low life force energy is also feeling like it's difficult to experience joy and pleasure. And this can be in a multitude of ways. This can be from the food we eat and nourishing ourselves. This could be accepting gifts and compliments from other people. This may be related to money and feeling like you're worthy of receiving a certain amount of income, or if someone treats you to a free coffee or something like that. And money and food are closely related. I actually talked about this on my IG Live this week, which you can check out the link in the show notes if you really want to hone in on how our relationship to money and food is so interwoven together. Other ways our life force energy cannot be nurtured is if we have undigested grief. And basically, you know, any undigested shame and guilt and resentment, it really resides in the sacral chakra in the womb. So this is an inability to look at your past mistakes and losses. If you feel like that would just feel too heavy to look and review at them, and you have an avoidance of doing your inner grief work. This can also be if you feel like you're stuck in the past, like you keep on looping through the same thought cycles over and over again and you feel stuck. Any type of stagnation and stuckness tells me that there's undigested grief, right? There's something that is just blocking the way, that wants to release. So ultimately, these low life force energy indicators, it comes down to an ability to receive and give with an equal energetic exchange. And from the majority of healers that I work with, I'm not saying that this is all healers, but majority of the healers that I work with tend to know how to give their energy away. They're very good at it, and they have no idea to receive. They're actually blocking their channels to receive. So there's this deep desire for abundance and nurturance and full life force energy, joy, zest for life, but they are blocking themselves from the ability to actually fully receive that in their body. And there's so many different layers to this. I mean, this is such a huge part of my own hurt healing journey. So, as a lot of you know, I had and still experience sometimes amenorrhea, which is a lack of menses. So that was very much my introduction and initiation into the healing realm, is trying to learn how I can get my period back regularly. And through that, it took me on, of course, this whole journey of the relationship to food, which is why I founded Ayurveda, and how this is really related to my relationship to myself. And I want to share a few belief systems that I've had to build a different relationship with. And I'm choosing that languaging really carefully because I don't even want to say extract those beliefs or remove them, because that buys into the belief that just because I say I'm going to let them go, that they're never going to come back again. And so that way, when they do come back in their life, because I don't know how deep these karmic beliefs are embedded in my lineage, then there's all this shame that, oh my God, I wasn't able to completely rid it from my body. So I use the language of building a relationship with these beliefs. The first one is just that I need to give more than I receive. And so this is when we tie our worthiness to how much we give to others. So, and I really resonate with the Pitta dosha a lot. So, as Pittas, sometimes I think we can feel a lot of worthiness out of how much we produce and how much we give to others. We were told in the past that people like it when they get to receive from us, and we receive love in that way. So we feel accepted and honored when when we give to others. And so this usually is developed in childhood. I can trace it back to lots of childhood memories where I was rewarded for how much I gave in my relationships, and I felt that that was love, and so I continued to repeat that pattern. Another belief system that holds me back from living this full, being able to hold and nurture my life force energy, is putting my needs and wants first. So these are all interwoven together. Like, you can kind of see how they touch each other, these different belief systems. And it does come back to that people pleasing tendency, which I find any of the doshas can relate to. Pittas will have the people pleasing because they'll just keep doing things for other people. Kappas, we know they tend to have that people pleasing because they have this super big heart. And I've noticed that I had become so disconnected at one point in my healing journey from, I didn't even know what my needs and wants were, because I was constantly living for other people based on, oh, they would be so happy if I did this, or oh my gosh, I will receive a false kind of love if I do this for this person. And what it did was just really disconnect me from my own body. And that's when we get chronic conditions that show up. That's like, listen, you need to stop and you need to create a boundary for tending to other people's needs and wants and just focus on yourself. That's truly what chronic conditions tell us. It's like, stop. There needs to be a complete halt now for you just to focus on yourself and go inward. Until then, you can learn how to be in relationship with other people. So definitely codependent tendencies in the past, which I think we all have subtle layers of, and really being able to heal that and know that my needs and wants come first. And again, there's different layers to this. So I heal this a lot with my inner relationships early on in my healing journey. And then I saw this start to come up more subtly when I started to step into my spiritual business, and when I started to take on more clients. I realized, oh wow, I have this tendency to cater to others' needs, whether that was trying to tell clients what I thought they wanted to hear, or whether that was negating what my own needs and wants were, my own self-care practices, in order to cater to what that other person needed and wanted in that moment. And it totally is a balance. I am not saying that we don't want to serve these people to our fullest capacity. However, when we serve ourselves first fully and trust our body's wisdom, that's when we attract the aligned clients. I now receive a completely different client that I've gotten in the past before, because I've been able to nurture my own life force energy and see my needs were met, my cup was full, and now I'm showing up so much more fully for my clients because I'm asking them to also show up for themselves as well. And not only is that being able to embody that, but I'm also inspiring them to do the same, that they have the power to do the same. And lastly, the belief system that I don't trust my intuitive gifts, or I don't trust myself to hold this power that I have within me. And again, this is where the self-sabotaging behaviors will come forward, where I feel like I have to give my power away to other people, where I feel like in the past, this used to be a lot of self-deprecating comments, and I would avoid compliments completely because I didn't want to seem like I was egoic, when really I was just afraid to be in my power. I was afraid to hold that. I was afraid to step into myself as a healer of what other people would say. I talk about this a lot. Like, I didn't show my face on Instagram for so long when I first started my business, and I had no intention in doing that and building a whole business on Instagram. And I realized that I was just so afraid of stepping into my fullest potential. I was so afraid to share my voice, to share my gifts with others, for fear that I wasn't going to be accepted and loved by the other. That if I just dim and if I stay small, people like me better that way. When truly, oh, I can trust myself, really stepping into this high priestess role of teaching others in a really public way and sharing my voice and expressing my intuitive gifts, that actually is going to feel safe in my body. And that actually can be only the foundational level of trust that I have, that serves as the foundation for all this abundance and nourishment that I can now receive in my life. So transforming those belief systems have been really key. And I said, like, I'm still on this healing journey. These belief systems, I am still building a relationship with. As I said, there's so many different layers that are with this along the way. But what's really gratifying is that you can see how you've healed certain past parts of it. And now I realize I'm so grateful for those lessons. And I'm also so proud of myself that I can receive a compliment now, that I am really confident with my intuitive gifts. And then also giving myself the grace that there are other obstacles and challenges with how I'm learning to really nurture my life force energy. And this is going to happen. These wounds and challenges are going to come up every single time that you are in an up level. Every single time you're going to ask for a new manifestation to come in, whether that's money, whether that's business, whether that's relationship, whether that's your healing journey, you are going to be asked to heal another layer and to step up. So see that as kind of, I like to think of it as like you got an award. The universe is giving you a ribbon and a trophy because you passed that level and now you're on the next level, and they trust you enough to overcome this new challenge. Doesn't mean that you're on the wrong path if you're getting this challenge again and it just feels like it's just slightly different. It just means that you're doing the work and you're devoted to your healing journey. Okay, so I want to do this next half of the podcast to go into more of a little bit more of a lighter version, because now that we've extracted how we can feel low life force energy and the belief systems that may be holding us back, how can we fill up our life force energy? How can we feel really good, really nourished? How can we be in our beautiful divine feminine form? Because this is truly the divine feminine, is being in our body, being well fed and nourished on all these levels, experiencing pleasure and joy, like all the juiciness of life. That's why I love teaching the divine feminine form of Ayurveda and all these ancient sciences, because truly it's our birthright to feel this joy. So I am going to share with you just a list of what's been nurturing my life force energy this past month. And I'll be really honest, I've really gone deep into my self-healing journey this month. And I feel like during my Saturn return in these past 3 years, there was so much healing work. And as we were moving out of Saturn, I was like, okay, finally, like I'll get some breather. And truly, the last couple of days of my Saturn return, it really brought me to my knees. Maybe a final time for a while, but it brought me to really focus on myself and go inward this month. And when we get brought to our knees and we have those moments of really needing to tend to our inner wounds and heal, it is so important that we know how to take care of ourselves. So I'm going to share with you all the ways I've been taking care of myself this month. And if you've been going through it as well, as I know a lot of my healer friends have, you are not alone. I'm doing this work right beside you. So if I were to kind of like label all of these practices and come back to and categorizing them over something rather than just nurturing my life force energy, this is basically me coming back to tending to my needs and wants. So what really is the catalyst for all these practices is every morning I try to talk to my womb. I try to talk to my body and ask, what do you need and want? And I let my body respond. And this has been huge for me because I've let my mind respond in a lot of ways. And when you hold on to belief systems like I need to give more than I receive, or I'm not worthy enough to hold this life force energy within me, you're going to start making decisions of how to nurture other people's life force energy and not necessarily your own. So, what's been really helpful for me is just asking my body and kind of throwing my hands up and saying, okay, this is what my body wants today, I guess. This wasn't a part of the plan, but I'm going to listen and trust my body's needs. It always comes back to that. So, that is one of my first practices is my daily embodiment practices. I will literally have to climb back into my body and notice what sensations I'm feeling that day, what emotions want to arise, whether that's crying, whether that's grief, whether that's anger, whether that's joy and pleasure, being with that moment and that bodily sensation. Movement is also really key for me for embodiment. So I love journaling. I love seeing what's on my mind. But if I do not then have some type of movement practice, I feel so stuck and stagnant and can get really caught up in my belief systems. So the type of movement, and I've always loved being active in my body. It's always felt good since I was a young kid. So the practices that I really love doing is going on long nature walks, particularly by the ocean. I'm so lucky to live by the ocean, and it's been so healing for me. There's so much healing in nature. There's so many mini lessons there. Of just look to nature if you're feeling ever confused, and there's just subtle messages, just the simplicity of things. There's such poetry behind all of her choices and all of her movements. So I implore you to kind of go out in nature and search for those answers within. I also love using weights and doing I've been doing a weight yoga class for like the past decade. It's called a sculpt class in many workout places and yoga studios, and it is just my favorite thing ever because I get to move slow and then also feel really strong in my body, and it really empowers me of how powerful I really am in this physical body. Like, wow, I can do this many sets, or I can feel this strong in my body, and I can see this definition in this part of my body. And that has been giving me the confidence that I can hold this life force energy in my body, that it's safe to reach my fullest potential. What else has been nurturing my life force energy is mentorship. I talk all the time how it's so important to have a mentor and a teacher. And I just absolutely love my teacher. She's extremely supportive to me and someone who can listen. And, sometimes when you're just in the thick of something and you can't see that outward vision, it's so helpful to have someone to see it for you who's been through the darkness before, who's probably been through similar things that you have, because our mentors do, because our ancestors are so wise that they choose these beautiful people to bring into our lives that can support us on the next leg of our journey. And having that nurturing support, especially that kind of divine feminine support that I really crave, has been everything. Phone calls with close friends. So a lot of my close friends don't live in LA. A lot of my closest friends, um, some are in Chicago, some are like maybe a couple hours away from here. And phone calls are really helpful for me. So I'll do FaceTimes and have that eye contact, but I make them pretty long. I'm definitely like an hour, or sometimes with certain friends, it's like 3 hours, because I like to get really deep with that person. And the relatability that I have with my friends is makes me feel the most nurtured ever, because it, one, gets me out of my head that I'm not alone on this path, which can definitely feel like a lot when you're on this spiritual journey. Like, gosh, I'm the only one doing this work. And it's so gratifying to notice the patterns of, oh my gosh, these friends are in my life and the universe placed them in my life because we're going through the exact same thing. Like, I talk about this all the time with one of my best friends. I'm so grateful that the universe brought us together because, and this is my friend since childhood, and this is rare, I know it, but through each part of our life, we've been through very similar things and at different stages. And it's been so beautiful to be able to support each other through them and to know that we're not alone. And I've noticed that this group of close friends that I have may even get smaller and smaller as the years go on. And or I'll go through phases with certain friends. And I just think that especially right now in my 30s, just entering my 30s in this big transitionary time, I noticed that my friends are just in completely different places in their life. And therefore, we're in different parts of our spiritual journey. And while I hold and I love them for no matter what part of their journey is, I know that I need someone who can hold me as well. So that's going to make me really specific on who I choose to share my life force energy with. So I've been really particular about being close with my friends and spending that extra juicy time with the friends that I really resonate with and I feel like we are riding on a really similar path with. That's been really helpful. Being with my emotions. So I can't say that this always feels nurturing in the moment, but this has been huge for me. This is what brings me the nurturing after. So this is where the work is. And for someone, everyone, we've been through trauma and that makes us disconnect from body and disassociate from our emotions. And that's been a very much part of my life of disconnecting from my emotional body, not sharing my vulnerability, which may seem kind of crazy to a lot of you who know me as sharing all the time now, but that has been I was so closed off when I was younger. And being with my emotions, it's still a struggle. I will have to say that there's certain emotions that I really resist. And I'm sending everyone compassion here because I know how hard it could be to feel the grief. And it's so beautiful when you start to recognize your patterns. I start to notice if I'm like emotional eating, or I notice if I'm getting angry at things that I know I shouldn't be angry at. You start to notice your different triggers and you start to notice your patterns. And I'm catching it so much more quicker than before. Like, wow, that used to take me years before I backed it all the way up and then I saw back in reality. And now I'm noticing it's days, hours, minutes. And that's what I feel so proud of, is that I'm getting better at being with my emotions. And a lot of times I'm not trying to figure out where this emotion came from, how I can heal it, how I can process it. It's just getting back into my body and saying, it's safe to feel angry right now, or it's safe to feel grief right now. And then just letting that emotion just be the flavor of the day. And then letting it ride, and then knowing I have those resources and support for when it wants to start to dissipate. Art therapy, which I started to share on Instagram. Oh, so healing for me, especially if you have a hard time feeling your emotions. That's such a great way to get out of your head, to just put it into creativity, because that's how we heal emotions. It's energy, emotion. Oh, I just love it so much. Long nature walks, I talked about. Nature's been such a great healer for me, and just being by the ocean. I am so connected to the water element. My sun's in Cancer, my moon's in Scorpio. I have a lot of water going on, and so that's like my element that I go to for healing. It's also the element that I associate with the divine feminine personally, because she's that water, she's that flow, she's that juiciness, she's the emotional body. So sea salt baths, I swear I've been like drowning myself in these beautiful sea salt baths like pretty much every night after I do Abhyanga. And I could be in there until my fingertips are so pruny. I'm like, okay, I gotta get out of here. But nothing has felt so much more comforting and nurturing than doing that. And as a Reiki master, I do Reiki ignitions in the bathtub, which I highly recommend. 10 out of 10. Oh my goodness, what an up level. So that has just felt the best. I love turning on really sultry music. I'm a huge Sade fan. That has been so great. And I love like 90s grunge somber music too. I've been putting on a lot of 07. Oh, just the best. Basically, like Garden State soundtrack has been my soundtrack. What else has been good? Oh, I'm a foodie. I'm a rising Taurus, so I love nurturing food. I do have to be aware of when I'm emotionally eating and when I'm just eating to nurture myself. That's been a huge, huge growth and up level for me last year. But in LA, we have this fancy grocery store that I'm obsessed with. I'm like, I have such a thing for grocery stores. I don't know if anyone else feels this way, but just walking down the grocery aisle gives me so much joy. And for those of you who are in LA, or you know the great old Erewhon, I know it can be super basic, but nothing gives me greater joy than getting to enjoy a dinner there. Just because all the ingredients are so organic and fresh and tasty and yummy and make body feels so good after. So I've just been loving going to Erewhon, getting myself a really yummy meal that makes me happy, and eating just enough to nurture myself, not enough to feel overly full or stuffy my emotions, but really this felt good in my body. Saying no to plans that would have been fun. This was really hard for me. I had this engagement last week where I was like, I know if I go, I'm going to have fun. There's going to be good music. I'm going to see all my friends. I'm going to dance. But then I came back to that initial practice that I started with of how to nurture my life force energy. And I asked my body what you wanted and needed. And it needed stillness, it needed a movie, and it needed a bath. And although my mind was like, you'll feel good if you go, I know you will. And dancing can be healing too. I listened and I honored my body and I stayed in. And I'm so grateful for this deeper connection because that's building trust. I'm building so much trust in my body and that healing. Group yoga classes. I love being at home and doing my own yoga practice, and I absolutely love being around people and doing it. There's no greater connection, and specifically, I love hot yoga, especially now. I know it's not really winter here in LA, but it makes, oh, I just love and I crave the warmth so much. Sound baths. Oof, I love the vibrations of sound baths. It feels pretty visceral for me. I'm definitely a clairsentient intuitive. So it's kind of a wild psychic experience for me when I go to sound baths and very healing. It's definitely helped me work through my emotions. Breath work as well. Usually when I go to these sound baths, there's like a breath work ahead of time. I'm just so floored and amazed by how powerful breath work is consistently. It's a staple in my practice. I do breath work every day. Um, and yeah, it's just, it's so healing because again, it's that energy emotion, being able to, your breath is your life force energy. So by installing more of that life force energy in your body and releasing the stagnation of energy in your body, I mean, what can be more healing than that? And if you have a resistance to doing breath work, just, get curious about that. Like, what is that resistance? Is it, I don't know. Mine for sure. Every single time I start breath work, I'm just like, ugh, I just don't want to do this. It just seems like a lot of work. Normally I don't even have to think about breathing. Now I gotta do it. But once I get past that, I'm just like in the mode of like breathing and it feels good in my body. No greater high in your body. That's why Kundalini yoga, that's why I love it so much, is because you could literally get high in your body. When I was in India and we were doing breath work constantly, we did breath work for like an hour one day. I've never been at a higher level state of consciousness before in my life. And it was such a clean, higher state of consciousness. Obviously, psychedelics can get you to that place, which I've experienced before. But this felt, first of all, so trusting because I knew that my own body and my own techniques got me there. But then also it was so much more stable and I was able to stay at that higher level of consciousness for a longer time. There's so much there behind breath work, but so healing for me. And Kundalini, I've been getting back into my Kundalini practice. I'm doing a 40-day abundance challenge. Again, I love it because it helps you to get to higher states of consciousness, especially if you feel like you're at a plateau with your vinyasa yoga. It could be encouraging you to explore Kundalini. It's a little bit deeper. And this is something that I do. I lead my community with. We do on our full moon ceremonies each month. We do a Kundalini practice, and I just love, love, love it. And finishing out this with weekly reflections. So, like I said, I love to do things that feel really joyful and pleasurable in my body, to nurture my life force energy. But sometimes also what's nurturing to your life force energy is they're doing the things that are a little bit difficult. For me, that's really evaluating my body and my business on a daily basis pretty much, but also then on a weekly basis. So I'm constantly reflecting and seeing what's working and what's not working. And that's helping me to be so honest on my journey because guess what? It's going to take time for you to break away from the patterns of choosing things that lower your life force energy and choosing things that are actually going to grow it. So I'm constantly learning, being okay with that, but that reflection gives me a basis for it. I want to go into more pleasure things too before I close out here, because I know I just did kind of like a lot of nurturing things. So I love getting myself flowers every week. I've been getting flowers for my room, and I use my flowers on my altar for my ancestors each week. But that has just been like such a great up level, and it smells so great in my room. Um, and it just makes me so happy just that like I can get flowers for myself. And I've also loved so I work from home all the time, and what I've had difficulty with is, I love dressing up and getting to wear new outfits and clothes, but I felt like since working from home, it's kind of like, okay, well, I don't really have to. So I've been getting dressed up on certain days and going to a coffee shop, and I just love that. Like, what is more divine feminine than being able to like express your beauty and getting to enjoy yourself and going out, even though, it's just like going to a coffee shop. But that's been really fun for me as well, just to experience the pleasure of feeling really good in my body. So, because of all this nurturing of my life force energy, it's been done wonders on my healing journey. This is something that I've been working on, like I said, like my lifetime, my life's work is focusing on healing my womb and stepping into my divine feminine. As with this podcast, as with what my business is called, the Divine Feminine Healers Academy. And I just want to share all the beauty that can come when you nurture life force energy. This past year, I've able to build such a deep connection with my body and more love for my body than ever before. For me, that was personal healing goals of being able to shed excess weight that I didn't want anymore. This has also been able to regulate my digestion, so it's optimized more, having clearer skin, feeling lighter in my body, but also just feeling emotionally more free. Like I don't feel like I get stuck in these dark clouds for days and weeks and months on end where I don't need to go out of it. Like I said, it's that time period gets shorter now. It's sometimes only like an hour, sometimes just minutes before I'm able to really move through an emotion. So that's totally possible for you when you commit to this work. And how it's reflected in my business is I feel like I can hold more aligned clients now, that because I'm able to know when I am giving away some of my power and giving away too much of my energy, I now am attracting aligned clients. And not only am I able to hold more and make more money from this, but I'm also able to feel more soul fulfilled because these clients are like my soul family. I know we were given this great connection to deepen each other's healing journey. And it feels like such a gift, these current clients that I have in my life right now, that they are just, I call them angels all the time, like angels sent down for me, that I get to work with them. And it just feels so fulfilling on all accounts. And there's still work that I have to be done here. There's still more life energy that I want to bring into myself and my business. But I just wanted to share some of the results that can happen when you devote yourself to this work. And I'm sending you all so much love on your healing journey, wherever you're at. If you really resonated with this podcast episode and you're looking to nurture your life force energy, I reopened the Divine Feminine Healers course. I'm only going to reopen it for the weekend just because I know a lot of you are telling me, I just missed it. So I'm opening it up for this little window, and a special little treat I'm giving just for my podcast listeners. The first one who reaches out to me to sign up for the Divine Feminine Healers course gets a free one-on-one 30-minute private coaching call with me, which is huge because the price of that would be about a couple $100. So if you are interested in Divine Feminine Healers course, this is a 10-week course to build total trust in your body and learn how to be authentically visible in your spiritual business. So the first 5 weeks, I teach you how to build trust in your body through an Ayurvedic cleanse. We release not only physical toxins that may be holding us back, but emotional toxins, and get to that root cause of what's keeping us stuck. And then that becomes the foundation for how we build our spiritual business. And specifically, I'm going to teach you how you can authentically market yourself on social media so you can start attracting those aligned clients, like soul fulfilling clients, so you can feel well nourished in your spiritual business. If this is you, this is your last chance to get in on the Divine Feminine Healers course. You can just sign up for your 15-minute call with the link in the show notes. And like I said, the first person to sign up for their call can receive that free 30-minute bonus session with me. All right, everyone. Oh, I love this episode so much. If you want more supports in learning how to nurture your life force energy, just check out this week's IG Live, which I posted on my Instagram channel. I also am on Facebook group where I post all of my tools and resources for self-healing and spiritual business. So I'll have that linked in the show notes too if you want to join the Facebook group, and you can get some of your questions answered there as well. And I answer all of your questions on my IG Live every week too, which is Wednesdays at 12 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. All right, everyone, that is all I have for you today. I am so happy that you're here. If you love this podcast, please comment, rate, and review. I know I've been able to connect with so many of you, and you love this podcast. It makes me so happy to hear because it's such a joy for me to share this way. And if you love it, please rate it on Apple Podcasts. You can actually put a comment, and then on Spotify, you could rate it just by giving it as stars. And that is all I have for you. I will see you all next week. Enjoy the weekend. Get into your divine feminine. Experience joy and pleasure. You all deserve it.